All right, Ed in the back. Yeah.
Thanks, Jared. And Corinne. So average hourly wages, Jared, are down 1.4% from the month President Biden and Vice President Harris got into office in December of 2021. Overall prices are up 20% in that same time. Americans have racked up a record amount of credit card debt, 1.14 trillion. So why does this economic growth come with such hardship?
So we've had this conversation before, but let's have it again. I think you make an analytic mistake, with respect, when you start measuring wage trends from, what I guess, January 21. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, January of 2021, yeah.
January 21. I don't have the graphic here, but we have it all over the place, and I'll make sure you and others get it. Wages were spiking in that month. Now, how the heck could wages be spiking? I mean, going way up. It looks like a mountain peak. How could wages be spiking in such a lousy economic month of January 21? The reason is that is the heart of pandemic employment displacement. Who gets displaced? Low-wage workers. So if you compare to that mountain peak, you're always going to get a decline, and so it's a distorted measure. What you want to do is compare to a period, say, before the pandemic to where we are now, and if you do that, you see wages are up, you see incomes are up, just like I stated in my comments today, and we have many of these indicators that we're happy to share with you. I think, again, on the consumer credit point, it's important to look not just at consumer credit, but at debt service relative to income. We do see incomes, as I've mentioned, incomes have been rising, real incomes have been rising at a good clip, and therefore people have been able to service their debt at levels that are historically pretty low. So look, it's something we have to watch. I do think one else thing that's happening, and that this may resonate with you a bit more, because it's again related to pandemic economics, which is its own weird beast. One of the things that we saw in the pandemic was that savings rates went also through the roof. People had what economists call excess savings, partly because they were spending less on services, right? They couldn't go out, and partly because of fiscal support. Well, those excess savings led to low-income people having more savings than they'd ever had before. Their FICO, their credit rates, their credit scores were going up because their savings were so uniquely high. And so there's probably also a dynamic where people are needing to adapt to a world without those excess savings. And that also probably takes a little bit of time.
But it seems you talk about the servicing credit debt. That's almost treading water for a lot of families, just servicing and pushing that debt along.
As long as your income is rising relative to your debt, you can service that debt. And so that's why the numbers I cited.
It's not getting ahead.
Well, I think if you want to look at getting ahead, so there's a couple of parts to this. You want to be able to, you're right, you want to be able to service your debt while you're getting ahead. So that's why when I cite the fact that wages are up for workers like over the past year, I think the increase, well, we'll know more on Friday, but over the past year, real wages are up 1.5% for middle-wage workers. If you look at low-wage workers over the course of this recovery, this is an article from the media this week, we saw, I think, growth rates of 7% over this recent period. So you can do two things. As long as you keep your debt service ratio in around historical levels, you can pay off your debt while your paycheck expands. And I think we've seen some of that.